Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever wondered why the most successful people don't spend their time explaining themselves? Why do the strongest individuals walk in quiet confidence rather than seeking approval from others? In a world where everyone is talking, posting, and competing for attention, there is something profoundly powerful about staying silent and focusing on your own path. Think about it. How often do we waste time worrying about what others think? How much energy is spent comparing our progress to someone else's? The truth is, real growth happens in the moments no one sees. Success is not in loud declarations, but in quiet discipline. Those who achieve great things don't spend their days talking about their plans, they spend them working. And then the silence. Not weakness, not avoidance, but wisdom. The ability to listen more than you speak, to move in silence while others seek validation, to let actions speak louder than words. Silence is not just about withholding speech. It is about mastering self-control, resisting unnecessary battles, and creating space for clarity, peace, and faith. Today, let's dive into the power of focusing on yourself and staying silent. Because the less you announce, the more you accomplish. The less you seek approval, the more unstoppable you become. In a world where everyone is eager to express their opinions, share their achievements, and seek validation, silence is often mistaken for weakness. But in reality, silence is one of the greatest forms of strength a person can possess. It is not about passivity or avoidance. Rather, it is a sign of wisdom, patience, and self-control. A person who understands the power of silence does not feel the need to react to every situation. They do not waste their energy arguing with those who refuse to listen, nor do they seek constant approval from others. Instead, they choose to remain composed, understanding that true power is not in loud words, but in quiet confidence. Silence gives a person control over their emotions. When anger arises, responding impulsively can lead to regret. But when someone remains silent and processes their emotions before speaking, they demonstrate maturity and wisdom. Those who master silence do not allow external situations to dictate their internal peace. They know that not every battle is worth fighting, and that sometimes the best response is no response at all. Throughout history, some of the most influential people have recognized the strength of silence. Leaders, thinkers, and spiritual figures have often chosen silence over unnecessary confrontation. They understood that speaking without purpose weakens one's message, while silence amplifies it. When someone listens more than they speak, they gain deeper insight, greater understanding, and the ability to make better decisions. Silence also brings an undeniable sense of self-discipline. In a time when people are eager to share their plans, dreams, and struggles with the world, those who practice silence understand the value of keeping certain things to themselves. They work diligently behind the scenes, allowing their actions to speak for them rather than their words. This quiet perseverance often leads to success because it removes external distractions and keeps the focus on personal growth. When faced with criticism, silence is a powerful shield. Those who react defensively to negative words often give their critics more power. But those who stay silent, unmoved by the opinions of others, show a level of strength that cannot be shaken. They understand that their value does not come from what people say about them, but from the truth they know within themselves. Silence also deepens faith and spiritual connection. In stillness, one can hear the voice of God, find clarity, and receive wisdom. It is often drowned out by the noise of daily life. When a person learns to embrace silence, they create space for reflection, gratitude, and spiritual growth. Mastering silence requires discipline, but its rewards are immense. It fosters inner peace, strengthens character, and allows a person to navigate life with greater purpose and intention. The ability to stay silent in moments of chaos, to resist the urge to seek validation, and to focus on self-improvement rather than external approval is a mark of true strength. True personal growth is not something that happens in the public eye. It is not displayed through social media updates, nor is it measured by the recognition of others. Real transformation takes place in the quiet moments, when no one is watching, when no one is applauding, and when there is no external validation. Growth is a deeply personal process, shaped by discipline, reflection, and persistence. The most meaningful changes in life occur when a person dedicates themselves to self-improvement without seeking approval or praise. In a world where people constantly share their progress, there is an illusion that growth must be announced. But those who truly evolve understand that the most profound shifts happen in solitude. Whether it is developing a new skill, strengthening faith, or overcoming personal struggles, real progress is made in the unseen hours of hard work and dedication. Growth requires patience, and patience is often learned in silence. When an individual steps away from distractions and focuses on their inner world, they create space for deep learning. They begin to understand their strengths and weaknesses, and they make necessary adjustments without fear of judgment. This private journey allows for mistakes, reflection, and correction. Things that are difficult to navigate when under constant public scrutiny. Many of the world's most successful individuals spent years refining their craft before anyone recognized their achievements. They worked behind closed doors, studying, practicing, and failing repeatedly. What people eventually saw as greatness was only the final product of a long, unseen process of growth. The same applies to spiritual growth. Faith is not strengthened through public displays, but through quiet devotion, prayer, and trust in the unseen work of God. One of the biggest obstacles to personal growth is the need for validation. When someone seeks approval at every step, they become dependent on external opinions rather than internal progress. Growth happens when a person learns to trust the process, knowing that the results will come in due time. The need to prove oneself to others often leads to distraction, but when an individual focuses solely on their journey, they experience a transformation that is genuine and lasting. There is also great strength in resisting the urge to announce every step of progress. Silence protects dreams and allows them to develop without interference. Many goals and aspirations are derailed not by failure, but by premature exposure to doubt, criticism, or negativity from others. Keeping growth private preserves motivation and shields it from outside influences. The most beautiful transformations often go unnoticed at first. A person may be working on their character, deepening their wisdom, or overcoming internal battles that no one else can see. Yet, when the time is right, that growth becomes evident, not because it was announced, but because it is reflected in the way they live, speak, and carry themselves. In a world filled with words, promises, and declarations, true impact is made not by what is said, but by what is done. Actions reveal character, discipline, and integrity far more than any spoken claim ever could. When a person commits to living with purpose and authenticity, their actions naturally demonstrate who they are, without the need for constant explanation. People often feel the urge to explain themselves, to justify their choices, and to seek validation through words. But the reality is that those who are truly committed to their path do not need to convince others. They simply live in a way that speaks for itself. When someone is honest, hardworking, and faithful, their actions will reflect those qualities. There is no need to broadcast goodness when it is already evident in daily behavior. Words can be deceptive, but actions are undeniable. Many people speak about success, yet few are willing to put in the effort required to achieve it. Some talk about change, but only a handful take the steps necessary to transform their lives. Those who quietly put in the work without seeking applause eventually rise above those who rely only on empty words. Effort, persistence, and dedication create visible results that cannot be ignored. There is great wisdom in choosing to act rather than constantly explaining. Some battles are not worth fighting with words. When faced with criticism, proving oneself through action is far more powerful than engaging in endless arguments. A changed life, a strong work ethic, and unwavering character silence doubt more effectively than any verbal defense. Those who oppose or misunderstand will eventually have no choice but to acknowledge the truth when the evidence becomes undeniable. Many of the greatest figures in history were not known for their words alone, but for the impact of their lives. They led by example, demonstrating courage, resilience, and faith through their actions. They did not waste time trying to convince others of their worth or their beliefs. They simply lived in a way that made their convictions clear. This is the difference between those who talk about greatness and those who achieve it. Even in personal relationships, actions hold more weight than words. Promises mean little without follow-through. True love, respect, and loyalty are not proven by grand declarations, but by consistent effort, selflessness, and reliability. Trust is not built through persuasion, but through demonstrated consistency over time. A person who allows their actions to speak for them gains a quiet strength that cannot be taken away. They do not need to seek approval or constantly defend their choices. They walk confidently in their truth, knowing that their work, their integrity, and their persistence will ultimately define them. When words fade, actions remain. One of the greatest obstacles to personal growth is the habit of constantly comparing oneself to others. In a world where people showcase their achievements, possessions, and success, it is easy to feel as though progress is measured by how one stacks up against someone else. But comparison is a distraction, a thief of joy, and a roadblock to true fulfillment. When a person spends too much time looking at what others have, they lose sight of their own path. Each individual has a unique journey designed with a specific purpose. Yet many waste valuable time envying someone else's progress instead of focusing on their own. The truth is, no two people have the same starting point, the same struggles, or the same destiny. Growth happens when energy is directed inward rather than outward. Comparison often leads to frustration and discouragement. Seeing others succeed can create feelings of inadequacy, as if one's own efforts are not enough. But the problem is not a lack of ability, it is a shift in focus. Success is not about being better than someone else, it is about being better than the person one was yesterday. A person who understands this will invest their time in personal development rather than unhealthy competition. Social media has made comparison easier than ever, creating an illusion that others are living perfect lives while hiding their struggles. It is important to remember that what is seen on the surface is rarely the full story. Many people who appear to have everything are still searching for peace, purpose, and fulfillment. External success does not always equal internal satisfaction. True contentment comes not from measuring oneself against others, but from recognizing progress in one's own life. When a person stops comparing themselves to others, they gain clarity. They begin to appreciate their own journey, recognizing that every experience, good or bad, shapes them into the person they are meant to become. They understand that setbacks are not signs of failure, but stepping stones to growth. Instead of resenting someone else's success, they use it as motivation to stay committed to their own path. Comparison also distracts from gratitude. Focusing too much on what others have can blind a person to the blessings in their own life. A grateful heart sees progress, no matter how small. It finds joy in the little victories and understands that fulfillment comes not from having more than others, but from appreciating what is already present. The moment a person shifts their focus from others to themselves, they experience a sense of freedom. They stop seeking approval, they stop feeling the need to compete, and they start embracing their own journey. Success becomes a personal measure, not a public contest. Growth accelerates when attention is given to self-improvement rather than to comparison. Peace comes when the need to prove oneself fades, replaced by an unwavering confidence in the value of one's own path. Silence is one of the most powerful tools a person can possess. In a world that encourages constant talking, sharing, and debating, the ability to remain silent is often overlooked. Yet wisdom is not found in the multitude of words, but in the ability to listen, reflect, and understand before speaking. Those who master silence gain clarity, avoid unnecessary conflict, and develop deeper insight into life and people. Speaking too quickly can lead to regret. Words spoken in anger, frustration, or haste often cause more harm than good. Many relationships have been damaged, opportunities lost, and misunderstandings created simply because people spoke before thinking. Silence allows space to process emotions and respond with wisdom instead of reacting impulsively. A person who knows when to remain silent demonstrates self-control and maturity. Listening is a skill that few people truly develop. Most conversations are filled with people waiting for their turn to speak, rather than genuinely hearing what is being said. When a person practices silence, they become better listeners, gaining knowledge and understanding that others miss. The more one listens, the more they learn. Not just about words, but about emotions, intentions, and unspoken truths. Silence is also a form of strength in conflict. Arguments are fueled by words, and many escalate simply because neither side is willing to be silent long enough to listen. A person who chooses silence over unnecessary debate holds power over their emotions. They do not allow others to provoke them into saying things they will later regret. Instead, they step back, observe, and respond only when necessary, often diffusing tension rather than adding to it. There is also wisdom in knowing what not to share. Not every thought, plan, or struggle needs to be spoken aloud. Many people weaken their progress by talking too much about their dreams before they have even begun working toward them. Silence protects ambitions from doubt, interference, and unnecessary opinions. It allows personal growth to happen without the weight of outside expectation. A silent mind is a peaceful mind. The world is filled with noise, constant opinions, distractions, and pressure to engage in endless conversations. Those who embrace silence create space for reflection, prayer, and deep thinking. They are not easily swayed by the chaos around them because they have learned to find peace within themselves. They do not waste energy on meaningless chatter, but instead focus on things that truly matter. Great leaders, thinkers, and spiritual figures throughout history understood the power of silence. They knew that wisdom is gained not through endless speaking, but through careful observation, thoughtful reflection, and selective words. A person who values silence does not feel the need to prove themselves with excessive talking. They let their character, actions, and presence speak louder than words ever could. The ability to remain silent when necessary is a mark of wisdom, strength, and true understanding. Many of the greatest blessings in life come not in the noise of the world, but in the stillness of the soul. God often does His most powerful work in moments of quiet, when a person steps away from distractions and turns inward in faith. It is in these silent spaces that He speaks, guides, and shapes lives in ways that cannot always be seen or explained. The world thrives on noise. People are constantly bombarded with voices, opinions, and pressures that demand attention. In the midst of this, it can be difficult to recognize the subtle yet powerful movements of God. Yet He does not always work through loud miracles or grand gestures. More often He moves in the stillness of a praying heart, in the quiet resolve of a soul trusting Him without needing constant reassurance. Spiritual growth happens in silence. Faith is not strengthened by shouting, but by listening. Many seek to hear God's voice in dramatic ways, expecting signs and wonders, yet the greatest revelations often come in the moments when all is still. When a person quiets their mind, removes distractions, and truly listens, they begin to recognize the gentle whispers of divine wisdom. Waiting on God requires patience, and patience is learned in silence. When things do not go as planned, many feel the urge to question, complain, or demand answers. But faith grows strongest when one learns to trust without constantly seeking explanations. Silence teaches reliance on God's timing rather than personal understanding. It allows a person to step back and surrender, knowing that even when nothing seems to be happening, God is still at work.